at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch night guy.
Yeah.
Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again,
I don't think this is a proper. I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And would I watch it? No. And do I value it? No.
Joe Rogan cautions that Jake Paul is entering incredibly dangerous ground by even thinking about a bout with Anthony Joshua. Rogan emphasizes that Joshua is an Olympic gold medal winner and among the most devastating punchers of this generation. He feels Joshua would look to make an example of Jake to prevent him from challenging top-level champions purely for profit. Rogan states the gap in ability is so wide that the contest could end violently for Jake.
Oh my God, if he beat Anthony Joshua, good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, that's a big if. Right? Anthony Joshua, Olympic gold medalist, former heavyweight champion of the world. What he did to Francis Ngannou, good Lord.
Yes.
Do you want that smoke?
Yeah, I just think it's all about the promotion or whatever. I have no idea what the actual motivation is for. That fight's not competitive at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch.
Wade Plemons, the host of the Wade Concept podcast, firmly warns Jake Paul that taking on Anthony Joshua puts him at risk of severe physical damage. Plemons notes that Jake typically weighs around 90 kilograms while Joshua competes near 111 kilograms, resulting in an enormous size and power imbalance. He stresses that it is one thing to select fights for show, but a completely different matter to face a battle-tested heavyweight champion with an Olympic background. Anthony Joshua is, after all, an Olympic gold medalist. Plemons argues that if Joshua knocks Jake out, there is a chance he may never fully bounce back, saying this is more than a simple mismatch and could be life-changing. He believes Jake's drive to fight for money is blinding him to the genuine danger he is stepping into.
in making this fight, one, yes, that's the former heavyweight champ. Why is he fighting Jake Paul? And two, why is Jake Paul putting his health and well-being on the line? Because someone asked me on Twitter, wait, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again, it's boxing, not MMA. Jake has a little more experience, but we're talking about a massive size difference. AJ's still relatively young and still relatively got something left in the tank, and he's only fought the world-class guys for the last 10 years. This would be Jake's not only hardest fight, most dangerous fight of his career. If Jake is doing this, it could signal the last one. I'm not even joking. This could signal Jake being like, I'm having one more of these and I'm out. Because where do you go from Anthony Joshua? We'll get into that part in a second, but the Netflix thing. We know that Anthony Joshua is an exclusive fighter to DAZN. Eddie Hearn has stated that multiple times. AJ, I'm pretty sure, even has a piece of DAZN. I could be wrong about that, but he signed a mega deal years ago with them. So for this fight to take place on Netflix would mean DAZN would say, you can have one of our biggest cash draws, and maybe in a revenue share thing, or maybe Netflix pays them some money, but you can have our biggest cash draw and we don't have an affiliation with it. That seems a bit unrealistic. But having said that, this isn't a report from anybody in the camp. This is not MVP saying it. This is not Eddie Hearn saying it. This is Mike Coppinger, who I guess has talked to people in the camp. But an independent source saying that they are finalizing a deal. Not that they're in talks. They are finalizing a deal. So this is, again, we're talking 1 yard line, first and goal.
Boxing Kingdom reported on X that Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is now being discussed as a fully sanctioned professional boxing match. This would not be an exhibition and would be contested under official Queensberry rules. This indicates the bout is being treated seriously within professional standards rather than as a novelty or showcase event. If confirmed, the fight would include standard professional procedures, licensed officials, and scoring, underlining the real risk and high stakes for both fighters. Reports claiming that Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua could be set for December are spreading rapidly throughout the boxing community. However, Eddie Hearn, Joshua's longtime promoter, describes the claims as premature. Hearn explains that no contracts have been finalized and much of the coverage remains speculative. At the same time, veteran MMA and boxing journalist Ariel Helwani suggests the sheer volume of discussion implies something is developing behind closed doors. Helwani believes when rumors build this much momentum, they often point toward a legitimate event, possibly later this year or early next. Despite Hearn's restraint, Helwani still feels the fight could come together sooner than many anticipate.
Joshua and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell Ring Magazine Paul steps up massively to fight the former heavyweight champion after his exhibition with Gervonta Davis was canceled. Major props to Paul. So there you have it. In the midst of all this, I did reach out to Eddie Hearn, as did Gareth, and he said, "We have spoken, but nothing close, and I doubt he would be so crazy." He being Jake. I then asked him, "Would you say this report is premature?" He said, "Absolutely." And then I said, "Can I attribute this to you?" And he said, "Yes." And so, what do we make of this, guys? Do we think there's smoke to this fire? PT, what do you think? Do you think this is something that could actually happen? This would be within the next month, right? This would be sometime between now and probably December 19th or so, in that time frame. What do you think?
I think it's a huge fight. You know, I didn't expect this at all. Usually when Jake is in a fight, the odds feel like they're stacked very much in his favor. This is the complete opposite of that. I'd very much agree with Gareth A. Davis' take, which was, I'd expect Joshua to obliterate him in a boxing match. I mean, look what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou before that Dubois fight. Like, I mean, it was a completely different affair than the Tyson Fury fight. I think, having heard Eddie Hearn's update and having looked at that tweet again, it feels like boxing's equivalent to the old in the works reporting that we used to see in MMA an awful lot, right? Like when we weren't quite sure, maybe one side had verified that this fight is happening, but you can't get the other side to commit, and it's in the works. It's a huge fight. The one thing I will say is, why would you want that out there? Why would the Ring report this? Why would someone give them that information if it wasn't going to happen? Now, because everything else pales in comparison to this, as far as I'm concerned. Every other fight that they had perspective or potential, I don't think it's as big as Anthony Joshua. So I don't know.
This isn't a ring fight, right? This isn't a ring fight. Anthony Joshua is tied to DAZN. Anthony Joshua has a relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh and Riyadh Season. The Ring is...
MMA Fighting shared a post on X featuring Leon Edwards' response to the ongoing speculation surrounding a potential Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup. Edwards remarked that if AJ fails to knock Jake out within 1 or 2 rounds, then the fight must be rigged or something unusual. His statement draws attention to the massive difference in ability, strength, and experience between the two men. Edwards suggests that Joshua's control is expected and that any fight lasting longer would be shocking. The reaction from a reigning UFC welterweight champion highlights how dangerous the bout would be and how little faith many have in Jake Paul's capacity to absorb Joshua's power.
You've seen this fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. As a Brit, how do you evaluate?
Just seen that. Someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if AJ doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight must be fixed or something, because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it, you know?
It's going to be next month they're working towards.
Oh yeah, sick. Yeah, I'm going AJ for the win.
Francis Ngannou, the former MMA heavyweight champion who transitioned to boxing, previously fought Anthony Joshua and was stopped by a devastating knockout. This proved that Joshua's power is genuine and his heavyweight boxing skills are no accident. Jake Paul had earlier talks about facing Ngannou, which was already considered a daring idea given Francis's fearsome image. Now, however, the focus has moved to Joshua, who may represent an even bigger danger. Jake is now considering an opponent who not only knocked out Ngannou, but has consistently shown that his size, speed, and heavyweight ability make him a terrifying rival. In short, Jake is pursuing a fighter who defeated someone as threatening as Ngannou, a decision with huge potential rewards and overwhelming risk. During the initial discussions, the proposed matchup was Jake Paul versus Francis Ngannou. Francis ultimately refused, publicly labeling the suggestion disrespectful and stating he would not spend his time boxing a crossover influencer.
With Jake and everything's wrong with Francis, he can go with Francis. So now all of a sudden you start satisfying both ends of this. Okay. So when that falls through, the rumor is that Francis and Jake are still in talks. Even though Francis did not come through on the event he was offered and the date he was offered, MVP and Netflix may be willing to reschedule everything and still make him part of it. And Francis' big statement was just, hey, this doesn't make sense. No, it's not what I'm looking for. Doesn't make sense. Okay. That's not my business. I can't be mad at Francis for that. That just cost Francis a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That just cost Francis life-changing money. I can't be mad. If I'm mad at Francis, then I got my way. He cut off his nose to spite his face. I can't be mad at him. He's already been punished. What good does it do me to be mad at him? All right. Well, then you bring in Joshua. Joshua shows you how it's done. Right? Joshua and Francis are not remarkably comparable. Not only did they box, they're not remarkably comparable, but in the world of boxing, just the accomplishments. I mean, you take Joshua Benson, Olympic finalist, for goodness sakes, right? Just like lifelong, very well known. Multiple generations of boxing ties. You know, go all the way back to Klitschko. Go all the way back. You couldn't go before Klitschko was there first, but you go all the way back to Klitschko. Anything that has ever happened in the sport of boxing says you can tie Joshua to. And he's a professional, and above everything else, he's a real boxer. So if he is to say something makes sense, then it makes sense. Right? If you have Joshua's opinion of does this make sense to... Now, none of us know what sense means. We don't even know if he's spelling it with an S or a C. None of us can define or tell you what this means. It makes such little sense that Francis can't even tell you why it doesn't make sense. But again, I can't be mad at Francis. He already pissed down his own leg. So, but if you could have Francis's opinion of what in the world of boxing or combat or money or business or sport makes sense, like Francis's level of success is not remarkable.
Simon Jordan, the UK boxing commentator and former club owner, was bluntly direct with his opinion. The concept of Anthony Joshua facing Jake Paul is foolish and absurd. Jordan admits the financial reward would be enormous, but maintains this has nothing to do with sporting competition and everything to do with spectacle. Jordan stresses that Joshua is a two-time heavyweight world champion, has competed against elite contenders, and established a legitimate legacy. Jake Paul, in comparison, is nowhere close to that standard. Jordan contends this bout would add nothing of value to Joshua's career, and would instead place Jake in danger while diminishing the integrity of heavyweight boxing.
Between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul in December. What does it tell us, Simon? Does it tell us more, as I said in the introduction, about the falling star of AJ or the rising one of Jake Paul?
It tells you that there's a huge opportunity for enormous amounts of money to be generated around a fight that really has no integrity behind it in terms of as a fight, but in terms as a media spectacle and entertainment opportunity. You've got a very talented YouTuber that's built himself into a massive influence with a huge following, and you've got a former two-time champion of the world that operates at a very high level of engagement. Whether he's a high level of performer anymore is a different discussion. So it becomes about how much can this fight generate, how many eyes on the prize. I mean, I spoke to his very close friend Michael Jarman about this very fight about 3 or 4 months ago, and he was like, "Oh, what do you think?" I said, "What difference does it make? Oh, it would potentially jeopardise his legacy. His legacy's sealed. You cannot undo the fact. Whatever you think of Anthony Joshua,
It might damage it.
I don't think so. What it will do is increase his bank balance. But I don't think. I think in the great. I mean, it didn't damage Muhammad Ali's reputation to go in with a sumo wrestler, did it?
No, but after when Joshua was at his peak, Simon, if I had said to you there and then, do you know what? Maybe in December 2025, Anthony Joshua will fight a YouTuber.
This is the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the world heavyweight championship twice. and he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Because I know
many...
Tony Bellew, the former WBC Cruiserweight World Champion turned boxing analyst, openly expressed strong resistance to the proposed fight. Bellew stated, "I won't believe it until they are actually standing in the ring together." He emphasizes that boxing is a respected sport governed by rules and safety structures, not a circus where mismatches are deliberately arranged for views and money. Bellew explains that size matters, experience matters, heavyweight power matters, and Jake Paul has not developed the necessary base to face Anthony Joshua. Bellew argues that before any agreement is finalized, promoters and sanctioning bodies must enforce conditions that safeguard the less seasoned fighter, Jake, rather than subject him to avoidable danger. Numerous boxing analysts, across podcasts, broadcast panels, and industry outlets, have described the Joshua vs. Jake Paul matchup as terrifying in terms of risk. They point to the vast disparity in experience, power, ring intelligence, and physical presence. They suggest Jake may believe in his chances, but fails to understand that Anthony Joshua delivers knockout force, controls distance, dictates tempo, and has lived in the realities of heavyweight boxing throughout his adult life. The prevailing view is that Jake is delusional if he thinks he can withstand Joshua's punches and make it through the rounds.
And unless somebody wants to kill Jake, does someone want to kill Jake Paul?
The move is bizarre, and I can't help but feel like this calculated gamble is going to go horrendously wrong.
Whoa.
I think there's something there about maybe the way Americans say Anthony Joshua. I've seen it because he's not the only American. Like, there's retired boxers been calling AJ out from over there. Like, I don't think that they realize, because of what AJ was like when he performed in America against Andy Ruiz, and just generally since then, you know, he's lost a couple. I think they massively underestimate him, and I also think part of it is just Jake Paul thinking, what's the biggest fucking name I can do? What's the biggest event? What's one that I actually, delusionally in my opinion, think that he's got a chance of just landing a big shot on him, and he just doesn't rate AJ's chin. And it's like, yeah, but like Daniel Dubois, it's not the same, is it? What does this do to Anthony Joshua's legacy just by even taking this fight? Lawrence, you've known him for a lot of years.
To be honest, that's who I'm focused on. I don't really care about Jake Paul. I'm just thinking, you know, AJ needs to get himself back on track after that devastating defeat to Daniel Dubois. Why is he concentrating on Jake Paul? Like, he doesn't need him on his radar. He needs to be focusing on real fighters. And in terms of legacy, I mean, yeah, he's an active fighter. When your career's done, finished, have those type of fun fights. But right now, it makes zero sense to me. So it's just frustrating for me, to be totally honest.
That's the mistake that you're making, though, Loza, because you think he's still he's semi-retired. This is the movement of someone that is on his way out of the game, and you can't turn down that type of money, especially on the night's work that it's going to be. This is like he's already got generational wealth, but you can imagine how big this is going to be. And it's
Netflix, guys.
It's massive. Like, so that even I remember Eddie Hearn talking about it, and it seemed like he really wanted that fight and is really gutted.
If, against widespread advice, the fight between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul does move forward, analysts argue there must be strict safety conditions in place. Suggestions include heavier gloves, reduced rounds, special weight agreements, and possibly even headgear or a handicap applied to Joshua. Joshua carries nearly a 20 kilograms weight advantage and possesses far greater power. Basic matchmaking principles indicate this bout is uneven without adjustments. The conditions would need to be revised to reduce the potential harm to Jake. Even so, the danger would remain substantial. While no bout is ever entirely safe, this situation presents an unusually high level of risk. Many insiders believe the most responsible option is to postpone the fight until Jake gains more experience and Joshua has motivation that goes beyond pure spectacle.
An exhibition with Tank to actually fighting Anthony Joshua, you know, depending on the terms, because here's the thing, Jake Paul started boxing late, so Joshua, to me, this would be a very dangerous fight. So I do got to look at the terms, meaning, are they going 3-minute rounds? Is it a 6-rounder? Is it a 10-rounder? Is it a 12 championship round they're going to make up a belt? Like, what are the terms for this fight? because Joshua is 6'6", brolic, an Olympic gold medalist. So that's biting off a lot. So for me, I gotta first see the fight actually come into fruition, not just like, oh, reports, because Ring has previously reported Virgil Ortiz and Jerron Boots Ennis verbally agreed and the deal is expected to be signed. And it gets clicks and people get hyped up, people get excited.
That brings today's video to a close. Stay tuned. Until next time.